Hey guys, how you doing? It's Joe Leggett here from Impala Search, and I'm excited to be hosting another episode in our Impala Invites webinar series. For those of you that don't know, this series is aimed solely at HR and talent acquisition specialists to give them valuable insight and advice on how to boost their careers. We've had some amazing guest speakers so far, and the podcast can be found on our Impala Insights page on our website and will soon be launched on Spotify. This week, I may have lost my wingman Jesse, but I'm excited to be inviting Linda Hedlund, talent acquisition specialist at Paya, to tell us about her journey and share some tricks of the trade. Linda, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I'm so
No
happy
worries.
to be here. And like you said, yeah, my name is Linda Hedlund, and I'm from Sweden, from Stockholm. And I've been working within H&R and recruitment for about 3 years. So I started working during the same time as I was studying H&R at the university. I started working at the recruitment agency, and after that, after 3 years over there, I decided to move to Australia for 1.5 years to get a different experience in life. And and now I'm back in Sweden. I came back before Christmas, and now I'm working at Payer as a H&R and talent acquisition specialist.
It's a mouthful, that word, isn't it? I struggle on it sometimes as well.
Yeah.
With Australia, I suppose the reason why I contacted, Linda, just a background on other people, similar to my experience. And I suppose we could probably talk about Australia for hours, but that's not what we're here to do today. I think for me, obviously, I know you studied HR at university and then you got into recruitment, but HR and recruitment are two different things, especially at the start. So what made you choose to go into recruitment, would you say?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, my interest in people. And I always knew that I wanted to work with people. I didn't know so much about the recruitment environment before, but it was at the same time as I was studying, I met people who was working with recruitment, and they told me what they did at the jobs, and I don't know, I thought it really interesting. So then when I found this job as well at the recruitment agency, I also could practice what I was studying for, and then I realized, okay, I love this and it's completely right for me. So that's how I got into recruitment.
Okay, I suppose it's same as everyone, isn't it? That conversation with people, and then you build on your career that way.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so.
I think for me, obviously, I know you actually progress really quickly, which is something we're going to go on to shortly. But when you start off in recruitment, there are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
challenges that people face, and they're probably challenges that are unknown. So,
Mm-hmm.
what were the initial challenges you personally faced?
I would say probably all the concepts in the beginning, because you need to understand everything, and it's a
Yeah,
lot to get yourself into. Because for me, it was like a new world opening up. So it was a lot of things to understand, and also I think you need to be a little bit brave as well, because you need to talk with a lot of people. You need to maybe sometimes even face harder conversations with people,
yeah,
and you have to be really communicative. You have to be flexible as well. And I mean, by the time, of course, you learn more and more. But I would say the big challenge in the beginning was to just understand everything and get into all the roles and the companies that I had during my recruitment processes and everything. So it
yeah.
was a lot to get myself into.
I know it's like learning several new languages in one go, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which can be hard.
Yeah.
And I know that, like I said, you progressed really quickly and went on to manage, I suppose, a team of 12 after just over a year, really. But what made you successful, would you say, Linda, at that early stage?
Yeah, I would say I was so dedicated and
Hmm.
I wanted to learn everything. So
Okay.
even though I was starting to work part time in the beginning, I was still like this. I took my job really seriously,
Hmm.
and I took part in every internal meetings. I wanted to learn everything from everyone. So I was really this person, a little bit nerdy maybe, but I wanted to really get myself into this recruitment environment. I wanted to talk with all the recruiters.
Yeah.
Since by this time I was just a recruitment assistant, so I helped the recruiters in their recruitment processes.
Okay.
So I just wanted to learn so much, and I was super curious and super dedicated. So I guess that's what made me really successful. And also, I think really early I took this kind of informal leader maybe within my team
Hmm.
a little bit. So I was the person who maybe not the leader, but the person that people came to ask
Yeah, like the
questions.
mentor, the one that
Yeah,
gave advice.
yeah, a little bit like that. And also when we had a new person joining the team, I was the one to have a little bit of the introduction and so on.
Okay.
So I think I was so dedicated, and I wanted to talk with everyone about the company, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was really my passion.
So you're the one that people trusted to have a few drinks with the new starters and not embarrass the company, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
So you're a success because that I suppose hunger to learn then, which is something that I suppose everyone needs to do at the start of their careers. But
yeah,
fast forward 1.5 years on, and you're managing a team of 12. So how
yeah.
was that transition into management? Because I don't imagine it was 0 to 12. So
Yeah, so to
talk us
speak.
talk us through that transition into management.
Yeah, so it was first of all, yeah. So I was a recruitment assistant,
Yeah.
and then straight away I became a recruiter and a team manager. So I was actually having two
Wow.
roles at the same time.
Hmm.
So of course it was a challenge that I really loved because I am still super interested in leadership and management, and I read so much about it at university, and I've always heard before that I've been a little bit of a natural leader
Yeah.
as a person. So I think like it wasn't a shock for me to get this offer to become a team manager,
Hmm.
but I didn't realize maybe how much it was to do.
Yeah.
So of course it was like a lot to get myself into, and it was a lot about the internal recruitment by then because I needed to build up my own team.
Yeah.
So it was a lot about having interviews, having taking care of all the introductions, to see my team grow and develop, and to be this supportive person.
Yeah.
As During the same time as I had also external recruitment processes, so it was a lot to do in the beginning to to get myself
Yeah,
into.
I can imagine. With that, then obviously balancing your time's huge. So, what advice would you give to somebody that's in your position, that's moving into that management role? They've got to recruit for their team, but also ultimately, like you say, fill the roles that they've got to for their clients. So, how did you manage your time so effectively?
Yeah, I think it was a struggle in the beginning, if I can be honest. So
Yeah.
I mean, it took some months before I really understood how to find a balance and so. But I think one of the key parts is to not push yourself too much, and also to be a little bit kind to yourself and remind yourself that okay, this is a new role for me. Of
Hmm.
course, I can't be the expert in one day. I have to learn by time and have a little bit patience with myself as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to remind yourself that you're doing as good as you can, and be kind and don't push yourself too hard. Because if you push yourself too hard, then you work way too hard and you can't really find this balance.
Yeah, exactly. I
And
think balance is, especially in recruitment when it is essentially results driven,
yeah,
finding that balance is definitely key. If
yeah.
you look back on your time
Mm.
when you were managing the team, what mistakes did you make, would you say?
Probably one of the mistakes was probably that I just jumped straight into it.
Okay.
So it was a big step, of course,
Yeah.
but it was also something of course, I learned so much about it. But I think, yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself, especially in the beginning. So, I mean, I think if I could look back now, I would probably be more kind to myself and understand that it's hard to find this balance. It takes some
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So I think my mistake was to pressure myself too much.
Okay. But how do you manage that then? Because like you say, looking back, hindsight, it's so easy to think about, but somebody
Yeah.
in your position now might be putting that pressure on to build that team and do as well as they can do. So how do you manage that in the moment?
I would say that actually Australia helped me a lot to
Right. Okay. So
understand.
everyone needs to go Australia, just quit,
Yeah,
go back.
exactly. No, but of course not. But I mean, just I think the most like important thing is to have this balance.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't take it too seriously. I mean, you're not working with like you're not a police officer or a fireman. It's not about like death.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't need to take it too seriously. You have to sometimes as well just breathe, take it easy, remind yourself like, okay, it's not like someone is gonna die if I don't reply in 1 second.
Yeah.
So just like be easy to yourself, and remind yourself to take care of yourself, because it
Okay.
could be really hectic when you, especially when you have two roles.
Yeah.
So just be like, yeah, remind yourself to take a break now and then.
Okay.
Yeah,
So big advice would be then looking back, just take that breath, take five
yeah,
seconds, think about your action, and then go forward.
yeah.
Um, I suppose from there, then obviously, like you say, you went away, you went over to Australia, which I'm sure was amazing.
Hmm.
A little bit jealous you did it more recently, in all honesty. But then you came back and you transitioned to, I suppose, a different type of recruitment, went internal at Payer.
Hmm.
So I think before we actually go into Payer, because I know that they're pretty cool, and I know that you get really excited when you talk about them. But
Yeah.
what made you transition into that internal recruitment role?
I would say that when I was working as a team manager, I had, like I said, a lot of internal recruitment
Yeah,
processes as well, because I was building my own team. So I recruited basically everyone in my team.
which is
And
cool.
I really understood by then that it was my biggest interest. I was actually more keen to do internal recruitment processes rather than to do the external ones.
Yeah,
For me, it was so amazing to just recruit people that you're going to work with and to see them grow, and to have the onboarding process with them, to be there from, from the first interview, and
yeah,
then you see them grow in the company. And also I think, for me it's really nice to get inside a company, to understand everything within the company, to work closely with the managers, to build something together.
yeah.
So that's why I think that's my biggest interest, honestly.
Okay,
Yeah.
and with that, then, like you say, you had a huge network, I suppose,
Hmm.
especially in Sweden when you left. You had real positive relationships with the team and the business you used to work for, and you decided on Payer. Obviously, I know it's definitely a two-way decision. They decided on you just as much as you decided on them.
Yeah.
But why did you decide to go for Payer as a company? What made them stand out to you?
I guess it was the values they have, and also the more I learned about Payer,
Yeah.
the more I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is exactly the company I want to work for. The people who works there was exactly the type of people I want to work with.
Okay.
So I would say that that's why I was so keen to start this journey with them. And by this time we have a really funny and exciting journey in front of us. So we're gonna
Yeah.
grow a lot. So we're gonna now at the moment we're around 20 people, and we're gonna be almost double at the end of the year.
Which is cool.
Yeah, so it's super
Big
cool. And
challenge for you, though.
yeah, it's a big challenge, but it's so funny, and I really have a good relationship with my managers, and the team is amazing. So I think it's a perfect place for me to work at, because for me it's so important to work where you can stand for the values, where you can be super dedicated like I am.
Yeah.
And also it's a lot of focus on the work-life balance,
Okay.
which I really, really like. And also we have a lot of flexibility. So for example, I can put my schedule by myself. It's a lot of own responsibilities, which I
Hmm.
like. So I can grow a lot by myself. And of course, I have my support as well. But it's a lot of things that I can do by myself, and I kind of like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it helps me
Okay.
grow. Yeah.
So I think that there's, I suppose, a lot of questions I've got on Pair, and I suppose your role there. But the first thing would be, I know that you obviously recently started your role, so
Hmm.
a couple of months back now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think we go like a day or two without noticing that there's a pandemic on at the moment.
Hmm.
And a lot of people that may be in your position that are actually, I suppose, an agency recruiter looking to go internal or make that next step.
Hmm.
Would you say now is a good time to switch jobs, or what's been your experience with it?
Yeah, for me, honestly, I when I came back from Australia and started applying for jobs, I found it really not easy, but I mean, there was a lot of jobs out there.
Yeah.
And also now I think, especially if you work within like fintech or a tech company,
Hmm.
I mean, all of them are working from distance. It's just so easy to work from distance.
Yeah.
So if you can find a job where you can work from distance, I mean, the pandemic won't stop you. It's pretty
True.
easy.
True.
So I mean, if you don't have a job where you actually have to be there, it's easier to find something. Um, but I would say, like for example, in the case of Payer, I don't think they got affected at all about the COVID.
Yeah.
So I mean, it depends on the company, of course, and what they're working with. But I think for me, it wasn't that hard to get a new job and get into everything. The only thing is that, of course, the onboarding process maybe for some people who wants to stay home. It takes a little bit more time maybe to get into the company and so. But then we have to build up a structure for that as well. So I mean, we have to think about that and change and adapt for the pandemic, of course.
Yeah. Which I suppose nicely brings us on to I suppose the next or the most natural thing. So you're in a role now, you've just started, which is cool, but you've got to double the organisation in a year. So no pressure on you at all there, Linda. But how are you planning on setting up that hiring strategy now then?
So as I told you, I started from 0 and I'm going to build to 100. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. But the first thing I did, because they didn't have a recruiter before. So no one had been working internal with recruitment processes.
Yeah.
Instead, they had external recruitment agency who helped them with the recruitment.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the first thing I had to do to start was to build up this recruitment process from start to finish, to get a CRM system, to give us a platform, a career site, and everything.
Yeah.
And also have this collaboration with LinkedIn, so I can do my search and sourcing and everything. So I mean, that was the first step, and all of that is set, and we have the career site, we have the platform and everything. Yeah. And also, of course, I'm working with employer branding because I want us to
stand out.
Yeah, exactly, stand out, and people should see us. And of course, I mean, it's really good that I started here recently because I can tell people as well in my recruitment process why they should start as well and come along in the journey. So I mean, I guess my strategy is just to really set this process to educate all the hiring managers as well, so they understand everything about the recruitment process. And also, of course, for me, it's really important to have a really good candidate experience.
Yes.
So follow up, keep people in the loop, work closely with the hiring managers as well, so they get updated about people in the process and everything. So that's my main tasks, I think, to have a good from start to finish process.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the nice things about myself doing this series is every, I suppose, internal HR or recruitment manager has definitely said that the candidate process is key. I think that's one thing that is consistent. Mm-hmm. So making sure that everyone has a positive experience of your brand, which therefore makes you more, I suppose, exciting as a company in that way as well.
Yeah, exactly.
With you setting up this hiring strategy then, so I know you've got your CRM in place, you've got employer branding, you've got, I suppose, a web portal now. But what makes a good hiring process, would you say? If you were giving advice to somebody looking to create a hiring process, what makes a good hiring process?
So I would say that, first of all, it shouldn't take too much time. For the candidate experience, you can't, maybe, for example, if someone applies for a job, they can't wait 1 month before they get even a response.
I don't think they'd be there after a month.
No, exactly. So, I mean, you don't want people to jump off, or you want people to still be interested, and you want to be pretty fast when you work. So you want to give them a response quickly. You want to follow up, maybe have the first telephone interview, and just work closely in the process as well. So you don't just okay, now I put the ad up and now I can wait for 2 weeks. Of course, you should look maybe every day and just to screen people and talk with people and so on. So I would say that's probably one of the most important things. And then, of course, I think it's good to have a good structure as well, because there's a lot of documentation to take care of. Yes. You also need to follow this, what do you call it now? GDPR?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. So I mean, I had a blackout there. So you have to follow it and make sure that all the documents are
taken care of.
Yeah,
you got
exactly.
In place.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a really important thing as well, because you need to follow the law and everything. And I guess the structure helps you as well to have an easy recruitment process. If you organize everything and you have all the steps clear and ready, you have all the templates done, it's going to be easy for you to have a recruitment process from start to finish. So that's my main advices, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that's the advice we always give people as well. Like you need to move quickly, but
Hmm.
obviously not too quickly that you're missing things. It's
Yeah,
finding that
exactly.
that balance in place. So for yourself and your experience, Linda, how many stages would you say is the perfect interview process?
I would say probably um, it depends if you have like search, of course, if you have tests as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe from 1 to 10 or 1 to 12, and then I'm talking about like all the in between jobs as well, the administrative tasks and everything.
Okay.
But I would say like, of course, the first thing is to have this. Meeting with the hiring manager so you understand the
Yeah.
role and everything, and then you write down the ad. You have a really close collaboration with the hiring manager, and then you post the ad maybe on LinkedIn or a career site
Yes.
or whatever. And then of course you start to go through all the applications and start to do the screening.
Hmm.
And then we have the telephone interviews.
Yeah.
And then you can have a quick brief as well with the hiring manager again if you feel it's necessary.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the first interview. Also, a second interview could be interesting to talk with other people at the company, of course.
Yeah. To get that culture fit in place.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, reference checks are really important, I would say.
Yes.
That's my
100%.
experience. Yeah. So, I mean, and of course, if sometimes you need to do a search, you have to find people, headhunt. That's one step. If sometimes you need to, maybe you have tests that you want to do as well on the candidates. So, I mean, it depends. You have to adjust yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm
Yeah.
glad you explained that then, Linda. You had me worried when you were saying 12 stage. I was thinking a 12-stage
No,
interview
no,
process.
no, no,
I
no.
was like, I'm gonna have to stop the podcast now, Linda. We can't be saying this.
No, but
So
now
no,
you understand what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
12 stages in terms of right from defining what the role is, creating a fantastic job ad with your hiring managers, and having that collaboration
Yeah.
all the way through to reference, contract,
Yeah.
everything sent. So
Exactly.
I definitely agree. I think in there probably a three stage process tends to work quite well. I think personally
Yeah.
from the chats I've had.
Hmm.
But like you say, every business is different. And one thing that you mentioned, which I'm glad you did, were the hiring managers.
Mm.
And I think one thing that's overlooked, especially in terms of an internal recruiter's or HR's role, is managing those actual stakeholder relationships.
Hmm.
Some can be a lot easier than others. I'm sure you've had your experience. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to expose anyone now.
No,
You'll get angry messages on LinkedIn. But
no.
how do you manage those internal hiring managers? And I think building onto that as well, especially at Payer, you're the first internal recruiter they've had, so probably the first experience of this.
Hmm.
So how are you going about that? Because it's a completely new process to them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, what I did actually I think it was the first week or maybe the second week,
Yeah.
I invited everyone to join me for a meeting,
Okay.
and then I went through like what I did before, and also I told them about my competence, my experience, and everything, and
Hmm.
then I told them and educated them about the recruitment and H&R. So I
Yes.
went through what I could offer to them, like how I'm going to help them to make their life easier, or the job at least.
I think everyone likes that, don't they? Yeah, I can
Yeah,
make your life easier. I'm listening.
yeah, exactly. So I told them everything about my how I work with recruitment,
Yeah.
how I wanted to build everything up from 0 to 100,
Hmm.
and what was my main goals and everything, and also what they could expect from me, but also what I wanted to expect from them. So I told them like clearly, okay, this is what I want from you, and this is what you can get from me, and we have to have a good and close collaboration for this to be as easy
Yeah.
as possible. And I had this kind of a meeting with them, and they could ask questions to me. And after that, I've been also noticing that some of them comes to me and ask me about H&R questions.
Hmm.
So now they know like my role, what I can do for them, so they can get to me and always ask me anything they want.
Yeah.
And also, of course, now when I'm having some process, of course, I work closely with some of them, and later on this year, I will work closely with other hiring managers. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I think they know now about my structure, the way I work, what I think is important for the H&R and the recruitment within the company. So I think it's good to just be clear from the beginning, so
Yeah,
everyone
no,
understands.
I definitely agree, and I think you worded that quite nicely there, Linda. It's the way that you work. So I think what every, I suppose, HR and recruitment professional needs to understand is that not everybody works in the same way.
Yeah,
So if they've got a slightly different process, I think what you're saying is the main fundamentals are just define what that is to your hiring managers and set them expectations as well.
yeah,
I know a challenge can be when a hiring manager doesn't give yourself feedback, and you're then chasing the hiring manager down, and it's just a quick email.
yeah.
So I think, like you say, it's managing that experience. I think with you moving into payer, and as you mentioned, it's a fintech, it's growing, not been
Hmm.
affected by COVID, touch wood.
Hmm.
What are the variety of roles like within fintech? Are there any new roles that you've experienced, or what's the variety like?
Yeah, I haven't worked so much with tech recruitments before. I had maybe one or two before.
Yeah.
So this like tech environment is super new for me, I would say.
Good luck.
So yeah, so it's a lot of concepts to understand here as well. But I would say probably I never, for example, hired a backend developer before.
Yeah.
Now I also have a product owner.
Hmm.
We're going to have a tech support shortly, and also solution architect. So I mean, it's a lot of new roles for me, but
Yeah.
it's also really exciting because I mean, I know the recruitment process, and also the hiring managers are the experts within this tech, and so
Yes.
they could, of course, teach me and help me understand everything about the roles and everything. So if we just have a really close collaboration, and if, of course, I need to do my own research as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can really be this expert when it comes to recruitment, and then it can be the expert when it comes to the tech and what they want and everything. So I think that's why we have to have a close collaboration now for both parts.
Yeah. I
So
think
I
that's quite nice then. So you're both learning together in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And also then later on this year, we will hire a payroll admin, but that's
Yeah.
pretty easy if I compare to the back end.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And then, of course, salesperson as well is pretty easy, I would
Hmm.
say. And then we're going to have a front end developer as well. So, I mean, it's a it's good because it's kind of different roles. Some of them
Yeah.
are new to me, some of them are not. So it's a good challenge for me as well, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really cool, I suppose. And with those roles, then you're obviously talking about the future now, and it's clear that you've planned for them. So,
Hmm.
how did you, I suppose, plan that strategy? I know you've only recently been there, but what made you come together and go, right, in X amount of time, we're going to need this back end, and then in X amount of time, we're going to need this front end, and we're going to have some payroll in there. How did you define that? Because I think that's vital when transitioning into internal recruitment.
Yeah. So actually, my manager gave me a list of recruitment because
Okay.
it was already said like, okay, we need this kind of people in the company this year.
Yeah.
So I have like a priority list where I know, okay, this one is the first one we're gonna put focus on, and then later on we have this one. So I have already a priority list of the roles that we need. And then, of course, maybe I don't know in the future something else will come up, or maybe I can find out something else by myself
Yeah.
as well. But at the moment, there is this list that I'm following.
Okay, which makes things easier for you as well. So I
Yeah.
suppose a clear, defined strategy. I
Yeah.
think something that you've hit home a lot of the times makes things work.
Hmm. Yeah.
In terms of, I suppose, the hardest roles to fill, I'm guessing you probably don't know that yourself yet, Linda. Right now, probably
No,
a
maybe
back
not.
end developer.
Yeah, probably back end. Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure when the front end role comes up, that'll also be the most difficult one
Yeah.
to fill. So I think good luck. I think just to, I suppose, get towards it, but not quite. What would you say is the plan for yourself now then, and the plan for payer?
Yeah, the plan for me is to have a future within Payer and to be that important H&R person that can support both the team and the managers,
Yeah.
and to also build up this H&R function that it doesn't really exist at the moment.
Hmm.
So it's a lot to work with on that part as well, which is really funny because I'm super interested in H&R as well and not only recruitment.
Yeah.
So I kind of have two different focuses, and it's really funny for me. So
Okay.
I just want to grow on that part as well and grow even more within H&R. And then also, of course, I want to continue to taking care of future recruitments,
Yeah.
doing all the onboarding process and everything, and working for a stronger employer branding for us.
Yeah.
That's like my main goal and my plan further on at Payer.
I think with that then, with that creating that strong employer branding,
Mhm.
what makes good employer branding? I suppose it's one of those things that's overlooked in many ways. But what
Yeah.
do you think makes good employer branding?
I think it should come from the heart of the people who works there. So I mean, of course, you need to spread about Payer as much as possible. You need to
Yeah.
to use social media. You need to try to grow bigger, to spread everything about the company, to get followers and stuff like that. But I also think it's so important that it comes from people who works there from their hearts and not like someone else who says, you know what I mean? So it should be really from the company. And I believe in this genuine, people can talk, for example, new as old people at Payer could talk about their experience, what they like most about Payer, to work there, create maybe some videos. So it's really personal as well for people to see. And of course, the first step to get there is to have this external career site as well, where people can find us and find more information about us and what openings we have at the moment and so on.
Yeah, no,
But
I
of
think that makes
course,
sense.
of course, we have to still work a lot about for our employer branding. But I mean, we are getting there.
Yeah, fingers
Yeah,
crossed. I
yeah,
think, like you say as well, that positive candidate experience through the interview process, that in its own way is employer branding as well. So as long as you're consistent with that,
yeah,
then I'm sure the brand of Payer will spread. Fingers crossed. Anyway,
yeah.
I think if you could now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. In all honesty, Linda, but if you could summarize or some of your 3 best tips for people looking to, I suppose, manage internal stakeholders and set up that internal process as a recruiter, what would they be?
I would say my 3 best tips would be to not put too much pressure on yourself,
Yeah.
first of all, and to
You
remind
can be
yourself.
my manager, Linda. I think you've said that a few
Yeah,
times. You can come on
that's
board.
like my main. Yeah, no. But so I mean, just remind yourself that you're working with people. So I mean, it's a
Yes.
collaborative process with both hiring managers, but also you have to deal with a lot of candidates. And I mean, everyone can change their mind any second. So you have to be flexible as a person with people. You have to be flexible with rechanging the schedule or the meeting or whatever. To have like an open mindset and be understandable to that people change their minds and there's nothing you can do about it. You
Yeah.
can't blame yourself. So I mean,
Hmm.
do as best as you can, and also of course believe in yourself. I mean, you are the expert within the recruitment, so try to own it. Show
Yeah.
people that you know what you do, and you give your best all the time. Sometimes the recruitment can be tricky. You know, people jump off and you have to restart again and so on. But I mean, just as long as you know that, okay, I'm the expert, I know what I'm doing, it's going to be easy anyway. It's going to feel fine to have this kind of experience when people jumping off or whatever.
Yeah. No.
And then I would also say my last tip is to be dedicated, learn as much as you can about the company, be curious, show interest, try to understand so much as possible about the company and the people who work there, about the culture.
Yeah.
So ask questions if there's something you're unsure about. Just make yourself sure, so you know what you stand for and what they stand for and everything. So you
Yeah.
feel, yeah,
I think three solid bits of advice there, and that passion, like you say,
yeah.
backing yourself. I think that's something that everyone needs to do. And will obviously help them out. But no, really appreciate you taking the time today, Linda, as well. I know you've got a busy schedule. Well, hiring, almost over doubling the team, and you're taking time out on a podcast, like you say. Take it easy. The motto
Yeah,
from
but
Linda.
of course it's so funny for me to be a part of this as well. And like I said, I found the balance now, so
Yeah.
I know how to breathe and take a break now. And it's an honor for me to be a part of this podcast series as well. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity, and it was such a good chat with you. And
Yeah.
yeah,
No
funny
worries.
conversation.
Yeah, Linda's flattering me there. I'm going to have to just record that and put it on my LinkedIn forever. But no, really appreciate your time, Linda. Thank you guys as well for listening in. As mentioned at the start, these can be found on our Impala Insights webpage, and they'll soon be on Spotify. This one will probably be up there in a couple of weeks. Next week, I'll be inviting another guest speaker on. We'll be having some amazing conversations. Hopefully they'll flow as nicely as this one. But I really appreciate your time for listening in, and watch this space, guys.